everyone, welcome back to my channel. Welcome to Grow Roots. This is Shannon and this is my July backyard garden tour. It is, I don't know, maybe 7:30 a.m. Saturday morning, trying to get up and film this for you before it gets too crazy hot. It has been so hot, you guys. It has been, 100 to 105 for weeks straight almost. We may have had a few days of 90s, and today's one of them. It's only supposed to be, I think, 94 today, but it's so humid. The heat index, excessive heat warnings, all kinds of stuff. So we are just surviving out here in my backyard, and I will take you along and show you what's doing great and what's really struggling. So here are my perennialized mums. I honestly am thinking about taking them out, putting them in pots for the fall so that I can have some mum color in the fall, but I'm thinking of replacing these with something, and I have a couple of ideas. Autumn Joy Sedum is on the top of my list because it is salt tolerant and can withstand, from what I hear, almost anything, but particularly this is like where my dogs go to the bathroom sometimes, and so I'm looking for a plant that can withstand that. But I may just do the Autumn Joy Sedum there, which is where they mainly go, and then I'm thinking about putting other different plants here, along here. So those are my mums. I have some vinca that I planted from seed that are really starting to come up here, and I have still got cosmos seedlings coming up. If you have seen any of my previous garden tours, I've mentioned that last year I grew orange cosmos back here from seed. They were beautiful, don't get me wrong. I just wanted to do something different in this bed this year, and this still isn't really what my vision was, but we're going with it. But I did pick out the orange cosmos seedlings. They came up like crazy. So if you're looking for something that will reseed itself, for sure, cosmos, my experience with the orange cosmos, they'll definitely do that. You can see underneath this vinca is my White Swan Echinacea that I'm so glad survived. It's the only one of my seedlings from White Swan Echinacea to survive, and it's kind of sheltered here by the vinca and the cosmos, and obviously those are annuals, they will go away, but it's doing well. So coming back, I did do a video on my Gomphrena. It is amazing. I think they're so beautiful. So please watch my video on Gomphrena. I give a lot of interesting information about that, and I'll be growing this every year from now on. The star of my backyard, my favorite, is the Limelight Hydrangea, and interestingly, it is just now coming into bloom. It usually is well into its blooms by now, but for whatever reason, and I think it's because I transplanted it from a pot, a very large pot, to the ground in the fall, and I think it's trying to establish its roots and spending a lot of time doing that, get itself established there. And so the bloom season was later this year than normal, and this is when I was talking about potentially cutting these blooms to encourage a late season bloom so that they could get pink in the fall when our nights cool off. Look at that guy. Hi, buddy. These green anoles are all over my garden. I'm always seeing them wherever I go. Hi, buddy. Anyway, I am rethinking this plan just because the blooms are so new, and I really just want to enjoy them. We'll see what I do, because now I said mid-July, late July is when I was going to cut them, and I can use them in flower arrangements in the house, and then dry them, and then I would hope for another bloom, but I'm not sure. This plant is not like on super rapido mode right now. It's kind of in a slow mode trying to establish, so I'm not sure if I'm going to do that. But the good thing is, at these 100, 105, 110 degree temperatures, there is, because the blooms are fairly new right now, there's no sun scorch, not much. So there's a tiny bit right there. You can see a vine is trying to get up. The vines in my backyard are crazy. Okay, and there's a little bit of sun scorch right there on that one, but because they're fairly new, they're not really sun scorched, which is why I wanted to take the blooms off right now anyway, if it had been further advanced in its bloom. So coming over here, you could see I have some California giant zinnias there, and then I have my jasmine vine growing up there. And I discovered the California giant zinnias, I could kind of weave in the flowers and the stems into that little makeshift trellis that I have, and that one too. And so that's keeping them from falling over, and I'm kind of liking the flowers popping up through the jasmine vine. That's kind of cool. I haven't done that before. I've always, well, last year they flopped over. This year I said I was going to keep cutting them so they didn't flop over. I didn't do that. It's just been too hot. And so kind of, you know, putting them in among the jasmine vine is kind of a neat thing. So I'm loving that. I've got more vinca right here, and Rudbeckia plant, black-eyed Susans. My black-eyed Susans in the backyard are struggling. Powdery mildew, and then I've also got grasshoppers like crazy, and so we'll talk about that. This peony, I don't remember which variety it is, but this one in this location, I'm brand new to peonies, it's just not gonna work. It is struggling so bad. I've given fertilizer because I thought it maybe had nutrient deficiencies and stuff, but I just think it's getting scorched there. It might be too much sun. I'm not sure. It just doesn't like that, and I know peonies do not like to be moved, so we'll see if it survives the season. If my other peony in a different location is doing great, so I'm happy that I at least got one that is surviving. I've got more California giant zinnias there. I think they're looking beautiful up there along the fence. And the jasmine vine too. You can see it's kind of running in there, but I really kind of like that look. This is where I had planted Nepeta from seed before, and let's see, so there's one that survived there. I've got, hang on, I've got another one that survived, and that's part of the same plant, and then one more that survived. So 3 out of, I think there were 6 have survived, but they are just, again, struggling. I want to put cat's pajama Nepeta here if I can get my hands on it, and that's my plan for this space for the future. And then here is a volunteer butterfly weed. I've got my Texas sage that's just kind of partially blooming. The blooms are so pretty and so sporadic when you do get them. But I'm glad I'm able to keep that one alive too, because you'll see my other one I think is going to die. I'll show you. Here is my echinacea from Aida. It's doing fantastic. One thing that's not doing that great, and it's making me so sad, it's my little quickfire. So this is its first year in the ground. I got it as a very tiny baby on clearance last fall, and it was doing okay, wasn't flowering, but now it looks a bit sun scorched, but also there's some leaf curl going on. I don't know. So, you know, when you plant shrubs and perennials in your landscape, they say, just especially the first year, give them time. The first year they need to sleep because they're working on establishing themselves. The second year they will creep, and the third year they will leap. And I love that piece of advice. It's helping me in this situation, just knowing, okay, just keep it alive the first year, Shannon. Keep it alive, keep it alive. And so far it's alive, but just barely. Here are more giant zinnias growing up right with that jasmine. Here is my sunshine ligustrum in its glory. See, everything is struggling a little bit. A lot of things are struggling with this heat, but sunshine ligustrum is not. And in fact, I've trimmed it a little bit. I wanted to do a really hard prune, and then I've talked myself out of it because it is just too hot, and I don't want to put the plant under too much stress. I can do it in the fall. I can wait. So here is the Texas sage that is just really struggling. And there's a bloom or two right there. Okay, see there's a little bit of a bloom, but when you look in here, it's like, oh, it's struggling so bad. I think it got overwatered with a malfunction in my irrigation. That's the only thing I can think of. And then the vine. If anybody knows what kind of vine that is, it's taken over back here. And I have several types of vines, but that one in particular wants to take over this shrub. And maybe that's it too. Who knows? But we'll see if that survives. I have a volunteer milkweed plant, butterfly weed, that is doing fantastic as well. I keep looking for monarch caterpillars. I don't have any signs of monarchs. I have a ton of Gulf fritillary butterflies and swallowtail butterflies in my garden, but I have not seen any monarchs as of yet, which I'm so sad about. Coming over here, you can see my echinacea, kind of tall and leggy, huge, 4 feet tall at least, and just taking over back here. So let me crawl back here, but I have taken down a lot of the old blooms. Towards the end of the season, I'll leave these blooms up, but we still have lots of new growth coming, and it's just beautiful. And here you can see my cannas. Again, you could see, pretty sure this is heat stress for the most part, the browning of some of these leaves. Heat stress or water stress. And then I do have some signs of canna leaf rollers. Where did I see that the other day? There we go. So one of the things with cannas that you get is this caterpillar called a canna leaf roller, and the butterfly basically lays her eggs inside of the leaves. Let me see if I can find a leaf, a brand new leaf that's all curled in. She'll lay her eggs that way, and then the caterpillar basically eats itself out, and it creates this line of holes in the leaf. So I've got that one, but that's the only one that I really see. But for the most part, they're doing pretty good. They're almost, well, no, that one's getting ready to bloom right there. Let's see. There's a bloom, and then you can see I've got some blooms over there. Those yellow and red blooms are coming, but you know, the blooms aren't as prolific as they once were. It's a purple bell vine. If you've been following me, I had this vision for this beautiful purple bell vine climbing all the way up with beautiful purple flowers by now. And you can see, yeah, it didn't work. It's still alive, but it's super stressed down there. Right now it's not getting any light and probably getting infested with something, it looks like, but I've given up my vision of the purple bell vine on this. I may get something else and haven't decided yet. Purple hyacinth bean is what I'm kind of thinking, because they grow prolifically and are crazy growers, but I can't find any actual purple hyacinth vines right now, like that are already grown. All I'm finding is seeds, and it's too late to start with seeds, so we'll see that next year maybe. I'm gonna come through, and so I've got jasmine down here. But this, remember I showed you, this vine has completely taken over this area right here. And it, you know, it's taking over my sage, my Texas sage as well. Oh, there's another bloom. That's fun. I have a black-eyed Susan that is just on the struggle bus. Not happy, not loving life right there. I've got some California giant zinnias there. And I really wished that this would have some blooms on it for me to show you. This is the first year for this plant. So again, I'm really just trying to keep it alive. It has bloomed for me, but like one bloom here, one bloom the next day, you know what I mean, in the beginning. And then now it goes through periods like this where there are no blooms, but lots of blooms are coming. And the plant has absolutely, you know, doubled in size since I got it last fall. So I'm happy that I've kept it alive, and I can't wait to see it in its true glory next year, hopefully. Well, remember, first year they sleep, next year they creep, so we'll see it better next year, more blooms, and then the third year should be leaping time, and I can't wait to see it. So I've got more cannas right there, and some are in bloom. I'm going to come up and show you what's in my pots. So here are my pots that I have planted all over my patio, extending my garden, and this is kind of where I try all my plants, I think, to see. Anyway, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on the Gomphrena. Please watch my video. It's absolutely amazing. I love, love, love it. Here I've got Sweet William Dianthus, and I have them, I didn't really talk about them, but I have them spotted all through the backyard garden, and they have survived, and even in these pots they have survived, and they're doing fantastic. I just can't wait for them to bloom. And then I've got this Rudbeckia mixed in with the Gomphrena, and it's on the struggle bus. Anyway, here's another one that I cut back because it wasn't doing well, and then these new blooms are really small. It's like the plant is telling me, I just can't do it. I want to bloom, but I just don't have it in me. So there's that. This is a new plant that I have picked up that I'm pretty excited about, but also hesitant. So it's bee balm. I've always wanted a bee balm. I saw one at Green Acres. I picked it up. It was full of buds, not blooms, and it bloomed beautifully, just like this picture. And no one told me that this smells amazing. It is, oh, it's just, it's kind of like bergamot, although I read that it's not bergamot oil, but it smells a lot like bergamot. It smells beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. The only thing I'm not loving, and I read this after I bought it, is once the blooms are spent, it just kind of doesn't look great. And I didn't take them off because I wanted to show you, but I do think I'm going to plant this plant over there as a replacement of one of those mums over there. So that's my plan for that plant. I just wanted to put it in something and keep it alive until I took those mums out. Here is my rosemary topiary. I just got done trimming it, and it is kind of forming a nice little 2-ball topiary. This is a plant I got on clearance, $4. That's the Proven Winners Luscious Royale Pina Colada Lantana. It was on its deathbed, and I saved it for $4, and it's getting done blooming there, but it's got some blooms coming too. We've got citronella, we've got some baby strawberry plants. The desert rose is coming out of bloom, even though it still has, what, like 20 blooms on it? It's still doing so well. I have a video on my desert rose plant as well when it was in its full glory, so please catch that and you'll learn all about the desert rose plant. Here's my seascape strawberries that are not loving life right now, but that's okay, they're surviving. This is another plant I picked up. This one was a clearance plant, $4 at Lowe's, Plumbago. So I think that might be another one I'm gonna dot. I may put this somewhere over here next year, I'm not sure, so stay tuned for that. My blue agave. Oh my goodness, here is my favorite. I picked this up at Green Acres when I picked up the bee balm. I've never seen it before. This is Plumbago, but not the annual variety of Plumbago that gets kind of tall. This is a ground cover Plumbago, Ceratostigma plumbaginoides. It blooms in spring, summer, and fall. Look at these beautiful blue blooms. And it's a deciduous ground cover. It's a perennial. What zones did it say? Hold on. Zones 5 through 9. And plant in sun or shade. Oh my goodness. I love this. Like, we planted it here, and it's got all of this new growth since I planted it in the heat. You guys, I planted this in 100-degree weather. I've kept it well watered, but it actually it's not just surviving, it's growing. And I will definitely put this, I think I'm going to be putting it over near the limelight somewhere. Anyway, Plumbago, Ceratostigma ground cover. For me, it's amazing. I love this. And it's deciduous. It will lose its leaves in the winter, I'm told. And I've seen pictures of these leaves turning red in the fall. So stay tuned for that. So more Black-Eyed Susan on the struggle bus. I wanted to show you my balloon flower, which is flowering and doing awesome here. I've got new, actually this one is new. This one was not open last night. I've got new ones coming. So super fun plant. Going to plant that in the landscape in the fall as well. And these dianthus are going to be planted in the landscape. Black-Eyed Susan did not do well. And then I've got the Gombrina, which is totally like floppy and leggy and somewhat struggling. But anyway, watch that video. It's amazing. Yeah, so coming up, here's the water feature here that I don't have on. My beautiful cannas that are in bloom, the only ones over here. Ooh, look, that one's new today too. And I'm so happy. This has been so fun now that I've decided to put succulents here, and then I've decided to just absolutely leave them alone. Oh, look at this. See? Do you guys see what this is? Ha! This, I was turning this. This used to be putted down, and this is a Gulf Fritillary Gulf Fritillary chrysalis. So the caterpillar came up here and formed this chrysalis, and the butterfly came up. I've got these all over the place. I feel like I'm Gulf Fritillary breeding grounds. But back to the succulents that I have been able to keep alive. I'm leaving them alone. I am not watering them. They get maybe some water when I'm supplemental watering this area. And then we've gotten a little bit of rain, not a whole lot. And that's the only time they get water, and they are doing great, and I'm so happy. First time I've kept stuff alive in these pots because they bake in the sun right here. So succulents are perfect for that. Here is my Tangerine Beauty crossvine, and yay! So these were $12.50, super low. They started off maybe just 4 feet tall. So right here is where this was when I bought it at the beginning of the season. And now it's grown. I don't even know how tall that is. I'd say at least 10 feet, 12 feet. And then in order from this way to this way, the plant gets better. And I still don't really know why, other than I think these guys get more sun than these guys do. I'm not sure. But these guys are even growing like to the very top and coming out, and this guy has really filled in. I'm just super happy. Again, I figure these guys are somewhat sleeping, even though they're growing so much. They're not flowering a whole lot for me this year, but next year hopefully we'll see a lot more blooms, and there'll be these beautiful tangerine blooms all over. This planter was such a mix match of things, and it's turned out to be like one of my favorite planters. It's so like interesting. So I've got my limelight hydrangea cutting that is growing like crazy here all throughout, so you can see that. I gave it some fertilizer. It's still a little bit of chlorosis, but it's gotten a lot better. And then I've got some of my orange cosmos seedlings from the other flower bed here. And then I put seeds of Chinese forget-me-nots, which I love. I will definitely be doing more of these in the future. And then these are the bachelor button seeds, which I only got one bachelor button flower. That's the spent flower. But that is it. Like, here's the bachelor button foliage, which is actually kind of a nice contrast. It's a different bluish color, grayish bluish, but nothing from the bachelor buttons. And then I've got new Cosmo plants from the seeds from that one. That's kind of petering out, but the seeds from these two plants are coming up as more Cosmos. So I'm gonna let that happen. I think it's kind of cool. Here's my jasmine vines that I pulled, and trying to figure out what I'm gonna be doing with those. I did find a place for my third pot, and I'll show you in my next front garden tour. So here's my side yard. Here we go. And I'm gonna warn you, there's a lot of weeds back here. it just is what it is. I have not been able to keep up with the heat and my full-time job, which is a daycare provider. So just bear with me. This is life. Weeds are life, right? We do what we can, but this is Coleus that is doing fantastic. Now look underneath the oh, and then I've got cannas, which I don't remember even planting cannas here. Somehow they ended up here. So, oh look, there's a Gulf fritillary caterpillar, guys. Because let me see if I can find, what vine were you even looking at? I don't see any of them over here right now. Anyway, there's a passion vine that they've been munching on that grows up wild here. So here's the caterpillar. But look, here's my peony that's actually surviving, and I don't know if I could say it's thriving, but I think it's because it's being protected by the canna and the coleus, and so it's actually doing okay. I'm happy it's alive. Here is the purple heart that I planted. My mother-in-law gave me cuttings, and it's flowering. How pretty. And here's my baby gem boxwood. I've got an amaryllis that's there. So here's one of my tomato plants. I've cut them all back. See, they've all been cut back because they stopped producing. I got a pretty good harvest. They ended up being like cherry tomatoes, grape tomatoes. No, don't know exactly the variety, but I cut them all back, and I think, oh, this is one of the trimmings. I was like, oh, it's starting to die, but that's just one of the things I cut back that I forgot about. So I'm thinking they might give me a fall harvest. We'll see. I've got my daylily, which was just in bloom, these 3 blooms a few days ago, but they're spent now. But it's got kind of another set. I've got more coleus. Holy cow, it's huge. And here's my rose mallow. This poor guy, but he is still going strong. Look at the damage that the grasshoppers have done to this plant, and I'm just kind of at a loss. I don't want to put a lot of pesticides, but I'm sorry for the lawnmower noise, you guys. Sorry for the mowing noise. You know, everybody's out mowing the yards in the early morning, which is also the time that I need to try to capture my garden tour footage. But rose mallow plant still alive. There's a spider in there. I don't know if you could see it. Oh my goodness. Okay. It's still trying to bloom for me occasionally, and the grasshoppers are sticking to this plant for the most part, so I'm just going to allow it for the time being. It's surviving. So I've got, these are my Vinca major ground cover that I rooted and planted in here. It's not super taking off back here, but it's okay. It's doing okay. I've got more coleus here that I can't make it back here to keep taking these off. But they look fantastic. Here's my hydrangea that has struggled the most with chlorosis. It did bloom for me once. I just hit it with fertilizer again, so we'll see how it goes. More coleus. Hydrangea. This is the one that hasn't bloomed for me. If you see these white speckles, they are from this white crepe myrtle tree from my neighbor. So that's what that white speckle stuff is all over the place. But this hydrangea is probably the biggest, so it's focusing on foliar growth rather than blooming for me, but that's okay. It's surviving, it's fine. Another tomato plant. Here's some blooms. They're a little bit on the older side, but it is blooming for me. Oh look, there's a new one. Oh, and my HVAC just turned on. This is life in the summer in Texas. And yeah, some more blooms on this one. Just absolutely beautiful. Look at that. Yay! I'm so happy to see these hydrangeas surviving here, and I can't wait to see the hedge that they're going to form. It's going to be beautiful. So thank you so much for joining me on my July backyard garden tour. I truly appreciate you watching and your support, and all of you that have subscribed to my channel. Wow, thank you so much. So if you're watching this and you enjoy this and you want more, to see more from my garden and what I do and how I do it, then please subscribe. I would truly appreciate it. Thank you so much. I hope you have a beautiful day. Thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye.